The new boat is also called Our Town. Fully imported from the United States, it came out from under the wraps at the Lake Macquarie Yacht Club at Belmont today. The proud owner, Fred Williams, says although it looks revolutionary, the design has been around for quite a while.
It's American, old-style American boat actually. It's an A-class scow. They call them A-boats now in the States. Buddy Milge is one of the world's top sailors who manufactures these in America. He redesigned the thing and brought it up to a modern, real racing machine, which it is.
I believe it's the only one of its kind in Australia.
It is, yes, the first one ever to come here. They make about 6 different models, from about 20 foot to 38 feet, which this is the biggest.
How fast can it go?
Well, they claim that they'll do 32 knots. Very exciting. You think you're doing 100 mile an hour.
For the uninitiated, 32 knots is about 60 kilometres an hour. Unfortunately, the light conditions on Lake Macquarie today didn't allow the boat to reach its top speed, even though when we caught up with the fleet, it was way ahead. With the spinnaker the same size as Helsel's and no winches on board, just how does Fred describe his latest toy?
It sails just like a big 18-footer. We call it the gentleman's 18-footer. Only whenever they come here, John. We're going to do that.
Keep you off the street. These days talking.
Fred, it looks like a revolutionary designed boat. Exactly what is it?
John, it's American, old-style American boat actually. It's an A-class scow. They call them A-boats now in the States. Buddy Milge is one of the world's top sailors who manufactures these in America. He redesigned the thing and brought it up to a modern, real racing machine, which it is.
I believe it's the only one of its kind in Australia.
It is, yes, the first one ever to come here. They make about 6 different models, from about 20 foot to 38 feet, which this is the biggest.
What's the advantage of this kind of boat over another 38-foot yacht?
Well, the wetted area is not as much. It's actually 2 boats in one. It's got 2 keels. It's got a swing keel there and a swing keel over there, 2 rudders, and you heel the boat well, and you've got one boat this side, and then you heel it the other side, and you've got another boat there.
How fast can it go?
Well, they claim that they'll do 32 knots on a reach. We were in the States 3 weeks ago, and we had 3 or 4 days with Buddy Milge learning to sail it. I hope we're good enough. And I'd say then on a 25-knot breeze, we were up around 27 on a reach. Very exciting. You think you're doing 100 mile an hour.
I believe it's got a very big spinnaker.
Yeah, the spinnaker would be much the same size as Helsel's spinnaker, which we sailed in the Hobart that year. It's about 2,400 square feet, which is monstrous for a boat this size. You really have to hang on, I'd imagine. We haven't tried that one yet.
And how many more do you expect to land on the lake?
Well, we'd like to manufacture this boat here under licence to Buddy Milge's. He's keen to come out and help us set it up. We'll manufacture it here in Newcastle. And the main thing's to see how everybody takes to the boat and how they like it. And if it's anything like the way we are, well, I'm sure they'll really like it, especially the 16-footer boys and the 18-footer boys, or the old diamond fellas, or fellas out of 10s. You run a crew in it from 6 to 8, depending on the weather, and she handles it quite well, surprisingly. But it sails just like a big 18-footer. We call it the gentleman's 18-footer.
Thanks, Fred.
Fred Williams has been a marine pioneer for as long as some people care to remember. But I doubt whether Lake Macquarie has ever seen the likes of Fred's new baby, a scow, a sailing craft that is commonly referred to as the gentleman's 18-footer. Fred, of course, will be remembered for his involvement with Helsel, Our Town, the City to Hobart yacht, and again with his new boat, the Our Town symbol will be to the fore. When you first see the scow, it appears as though someone has developed the windsurfer to enormous lengths. With sail capacity of around 3,500 square feet, the main spinnaker alone boasting 2,500 square feet, it's no wonder that the scow has become possibly the quickest sailing craft on Lake Macquarie. And what is the feeling that is generated by such a boat? I should imagine it would be just pure adrenaline. According to Fred, that's exactly the feeling.
I mean, as you remember, I used to race speedboats a lot and get up around 100 odd mile an hour in them, but boy, the adrenaline does pump through on this. I've never had the excitement that I've had in this particular thing because you've got the breeze and it goes faster than the wind, and if you're not ready for it, well, you're swimming.
Well, we won't mention a little accident on Saturday,
Oh, that was our fault. We were just
tell us, Fred, a little bit about the origin of the scow.
Well, it's the oldest one design racing boat in the world, one design, and it was originated in 1905, a long ways back. And to look at the boat, you'd think it was designed yesterday, just come out of the moon somewhere up in Mars. So it's unreal, really.
Now, what is the difference in sailing this sort of craft to, say, a normal yacht that you'd sail socially?
Well, it's a lot faster, for instance. It's more lively. Every bloke's got a job on the boat. There's no one can sort of sit around and relax, you know. It's a boat that every man has got to sail and got to work his gear, and if he doesn't, you can't steer the thing. You know, you can tell straight away if the boat's not performing by the tillers. You know, if it's not going, you can't steer it properly. So someone hasn't got the jib on, or someone has got the main off, or whatever, you know.
It's often been referred to as the gentleman's 18-footer, but it's a lot longer than an 18-footer, and obviously more crew. Tell us about the length of it, the speeds that you can attain, and the amount of crew members that you would use.
Well, length for a start is 38 feet. She's 8'3" beam, not very deep as you can see. Crew, you can carry 6 quite comfortably today, 6 mostly, but on a big boat you can put 7 or 8 on. I think there might be 8 on there now, and that's about it. They don't use, we don't use wires or anything. We don't swing. We only swing on the boat itself, because they found that if you got them out on trapeze, when you go about, they find it takes too long for the blokes to get in, put the wires away, and go underneath and get about, because they roll tack these boats. They keep the speed up, and while you're getting in off the wire, you'll be rolled tack and gone.
Fred, you've only been sailing it for about a fortnight now. Have you got any idea what speed it could obtain when she's flat out?
Well, I suppose we were running just a while ago about 25, 26 knots. Buddy Mills just maintains adamantly, and all the boys in America, that they've done 32 knots in them. I don't doubt it really now.
Fred, can you see a future for this sort of craft in Australia, in a racing capacity plus a social capacity?
Well, it's astounding the amount of interest that's come in the boat since the boys knew we were getting it here in Australia. I've been messing around trying to organise it for 2 years, you know. Finally I got enough courage to get it, and now that people know it's here, it's a different thing. But it's funny, we've got chaps ringing from every state in Australia, all over, interested in buying it, interested in wanting to have a run on one. And only the other day, Sorensen and Brown, the boys from Sydney, the world 18-footer champion, he rang up and they wanted to have match races. I said, look, mate, we're not ready for this yet. But he said, don't worry, let's come up and have a look and make some arrangements. So they're coming up next Wednesday.
Oh, that's tremendous, because you're talking about 2 world champions.
That's right. And he even said to himself, you know, Freddie said, I think we're just about ready for one of these now. So he could be a scow man.
Well, Fred, thanks very much for your time and effort today. It's magic to see it flying, and it's great to see the spinnaker of our town, in the name of Fred Williams, still continue in sailing.
It's a pleasure, Mike, and we're really going to sail it as a Newcastle boat, and famous we did Helsel too, so see if we can get the Newcastle people on our side again with this one and upset all the rest of the fraternity.
The heliport off Cowper Street was originally established by Screws Air after obtaining a lease on the land from the Maritime Services Board. The operation was later taken over by New World Aviation, and a terminal building and hard standing areas for helicopters were installed. The whole area was fenced and landscaped, but now the severe decline in the economic climate has forced the operator to temporarily discontinue commuter flights. General Manager of New World Aviation, Mr. Bob Larder, was not available for comment today. However, he has sent letters to regular customers advising them of the shutdown. The operator had hoped to fly the commuter service into and out of Sydney Heliport in Darling Harbour, but Department of Transport approval for this was not forthcoming. Mascot Airport had to be used instead, making the operation less attractive to customers already affected by the recession. The 2 women employed at the Newcastle end have been given notice and will finish up at the end of the month. It's understood the lease on the heliport site is a long-term one, but it's not known what its immediate future will be. Estimates of the amount of coal stored by the Electricity Commission in the north go as high as 8.5 megatons, almost a full year's supply. However, a Miners' Federation spokesman tonight discounted reports that the situation threatens hundreds of miners' jobs. He said the Commission has given an undertaking that it will remain committed to underground mining. What the proposal does mean is that mine workers could be transferred from overproducing pits to the new mines feeding the Araring power station, for instance. The Miners' Federation was also involved in talks today aimed at reducing the impact of the shutdown of the Pelton mine near Cessnock. Several jobs could be found at the Newcastle Wallsend Company's other mine at Gretley, and early retirement could reduce the number adversely affected. 120 mine workers have been told their jobs will no longer exist once Pelton stops producing. Talks will be held with the government in Sydney on Thursday afternoon on the situation.
Within minutes of police arriving at the scene, a massive turnout of patrons farewelling the Star Hotel on its final night of trading turned into a terrifying group, hurling cans, broken glass and anything at police. As the force attempted to move the crowd from the streets, it became wilder, and it was clear police were not prepared for such an outburst. For a short time, the only thing they could do was to take cover. Beer cans gave way to bricks, rocks and pieces of heavy timber. The police moved in on the crowd at the western end of King Street, and within half an hour they had retreated to the other end, but still in close range of the rioters. As they moved back, the crowd moved forward, and then the unsightly arrests began. Police worked together to drag some offenders into the lockups. There were wild exchanges, and this scene brought about the most bitter confrontation between both sides. Some of the rioters risked arrest themselves to drag friends from the police vans. A number of police were seriously injured when unavoidably they turned their backs on the approaching crowd. It was all just a little too much. For more than 2 hours, the riot did not subside for a moment. And then something happened that was beyond everybody's expectations. 2 police vehicles, which were left abandoned, became raging infernos. While some of the crowd cheered with excitement, others cried out in dismay. The situation had got out of hand. 2 police vehicles were burnt, spectators, participators and officers were injured. The Star Hotel was left in a pitiful state and King Street was littered with broken glass, blood, beer cans and damaged property. The officer in charge of the police squad was Inspector Love. What was the aim in mind when you first moved in?
We had complaints. The road was blocked off by the patrons from the hotel, and complaints that they were throwing cans and stones at passing vehicles.
And do you think you achieved your purpose?
Yes, I think so, yes.
You're obviously, though, unhappy about what has happened.
Most unhappy.
Did you have enough police for the job?
Well, we had police rostered for the job, but we didn't expect anything like that. What happened tonight, because we had to call extra police in.
There was a lot of talk going around the town that they would block off the streets, and this was 2 weeks ago. And did police hear about that?
No.
And
we only knew a week ago that the hotel was going to close in any case. So, but, we expected some trouble, but nothing.
Whose fault do you think this whole thing has been?
Oh, well, it's hard to say, because I think it's because the closing of the hotel, the type of patrons that patronise the hotel, they were just all upset, I think.